Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Saints are continuing their work to get within cap compliance right now, and Lord knows they had a lot of work to do. There were some $80 million over the cap as this season was before this season started, as they were going into this offseason. So a lot of work for the Saints to do as they were going into their whole restructuring contract protocols that they do every year. There was some $80 million over the cap. We know that the cap went up this year, which gave them a little bit of a respite, having already restructured Derek Carr, Carl Granderson, Eric McCoy, Nathan Shepard. The Saints presently, after restructuring Cesar Ruiz, are now at about $24.8 million over the cap. So still a good ways to go before getting within cap compliance. But the Cesar Ruiz decision was actually a pretty easy one. And I know, as we've looked at Cesar Ruiz during his time in New Orleans, he's generally considered, I don't want to say bust, but I'll say disappointment, because he was a first-round draft pick, and I think the expectation is that he would come in and be a dominant player. And that hasn't happened. Among starting interior offensive linemen, he's routinely graded as one of the, or I shouldn't say the worst, I should say one of the lowest graded starting interior offensive linemen. However, when you talk about Cesar Ruiz, like we talk about any NFL player, any player in any sport, what's the old adage? The best ability is availability. And Cesar Ruiz, if nothing else, has certainly been available in his NFL career. He started all 16 games that he played this past season for the New Orleans Saints. And when you look during his time in New Orleans, he's played in 62 games in 4 seasons, 15 as a rookie in the COVID year in 2020, all 17 games in 2021. He missed 3 games a year ago in 2022, and then just missed 1 game last year. He has started 56 of the 62 games in which he has played. So if nothing else, he has been available, which is more you can say about a guy like Trevor Penning, who missed his entire rookie season due to injury. Or you think about Peyton Turner or Marcus Davenport, whose time in New Orleans was marred by injury. At least Ruiz has been on the field, so you can certainly give him that much. But what I like the most about the Ruiz contract is the Saints aren't married really to Cesar Ruiz at all. He signed last offseason a 4-year, $44 million contract. Remember, the Saints could have used this would have been a 5th year. They could have used his 5th-year option. But last year, going into last year, they decided to extend him. And they did, 4 years, $44 million. He got $7.5 million at signing. And in this restructure, it cleared a little more than $6 million of cap space. So I don't want to bore you with the numbers of it. But in essence, this year, Ruiz's cap hit is about $4 million. 4.45 is the actual number. And then you look to next year, the number goes up to 12.2 with a dead number of 10.9, meaning if he wasn't on the team next year, you'd save a couple $1 million. And you'd have a potential out of this deal after next year. But while the restructure adds money onto the contract all the way through 2028, the crazy thing about it is starting next year, and you have an out, the dead cap number for Cesar Ruiz goes to 0. So the only way after this season that you theoretically would owe Cesar Ruiz money against the cap, you would owe him the guaranteed money you paid him. But the only way it would count against the cap is if it was a pre-June 1st release next year, like after this coming season. So he plays this season. If they release him before June 1st, then he would count. Actually, it would be after the day one of the league year. He would count $9.1 million against the cap. But anything after that, it would be 0. So, like, it would literally go to zero. And so even if he played in 2025 with New Orleans, the same thing is true in 2026, but it's a pre-June one. So my point is, like, let's say Cesar Ruiz goes out this year and stinks. The way they've structured this deal with him is such that, like, you pay him his guarantees, but his guarantees were so low on this deal. Again, it was $7.5 million were his guarantees. So you could wipe him off the books after this season and owe him nothing. So I'm good. This is one of the rare occurrences where I'm like, great, because you're not really kicking money into future years because you only guaranteed him $7.5 million. I'm sorry, that was his bonus. Forgive me. It was $27.3 was the guaranteed on the 4 years, $44 million. But the point is, after the 2024 season, you have outs in this contract where the dead cap numbers go to zero. So while it's fair to say that Ruiz's time in New Orleans has been disappointing because he hasn't emerged into a dominant starting player, this was a team-friendly deal that he signed last offseason. And even in the restructure now, it doesn't hurt you tremendously. Like the phantom years, the voidable years it added on was only $1.6 million in 2028. So this is one that isn't really going to be in that pile of contracts that hurts you for years to come. And it gives you time to hopefully continue to develop Cesar Ruiz as a really good player. So hopeful. I don't know that I believe that'll happen. I think he'll just be a starting caliber player in the NFL. I mean, if you line up every starting offensive guard in the NFL, take every single one of them, someone's going to be the best starting guard in the NFL and someone's going to be the worst starting guard in the NFL. And unfortunately, Cesar Ruiz looks like he's going to be on the leaner side of that list, but at least he's available for you on that right side of your line, and that's something you at least have settled going into the season. And it's not gonna crush you financially. All right, we'll keep you posted. The Saints still have more than $20 million they need to clear against the cap, so we'll keep you posted as that moves along, and we move closer to March 13th, which will be the beginning of the league year, and we'll see how the Saints do, because as we know historically, they're usually very active at the onset, like that first round of free agency, like when the tampering period is open. The Saints usually have one big ticket item, and then they allow the market to settle, and the second wave of free agency is when they start to go bargain shopping. So that's historically been what they've done. We'll see if they continue that this year. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.